Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Susan, and today I'll be presenting on Caritas of Austin, the nonprofit organization where I volunteered this semester. I'm excited to share who they are, who they serve, and how they're funded, and what I personally did there and what I took away from the experience. Caritas of Austin is located at 611 Netches Street in downtown Austin, right at the heart of the cluster of social service providers. It's right across the street from the ARC Homeless Shelter, and it was founded in 1964 by Monsignor Richard McCabe, who believes that all people deserve to have their basic needs met. Though it was started with a faith-based support, Caritas has always operated independently of any religious affiliation, and today it receives support from faith communities, businesses, universities, and legal communities and local government. So with my volunteer experience, so with my placement, I was specifically within their community kitchen program. I was serving hot meals to the unhoused of the greater Austin area. And I'm here to stress the importance of places like Caritas of Austin. Our community needs them. And Caritas' mission is clear. It's very obvious. They want to provide basic human needs to prevent and end homelessness. And they have five core values: respect, integrity, commitment, excellence, and innovation. And those aren't just words to them. You can see it in their daily activities. You could see it in the staff's dedication. It's really amazing. And what struck me most is their statement of belonging, which is Caritas is committed to equity and centering a lived experience. So they believe that their clients are not problems to solve, but they're people whose perspectives should inform the work that they do. And that philosophy shapes everything they do. So, who does Caritas serve? Their primary client populations include chronically homeless individuals, defined by HUD as someone with a disability who has been homeless for at least 12 months, families in short-term housing crisis, maybe a lost job or a medical emergency pushed them out of housing, or veterans, domestic violence survivors, seniors, refugees, and low-income individuals across Travis County that need support. Um, the social problems they address, they're pretty wide. Caritas addresses a bunch of interconnected social problems: homelessness and housing instability, food insecurity, mental illness, disabilities and poverty, and some of the more systemic issues, including the criminalization of homelessness and the city sweeps that actually displace people further away from their services and um, care, um, their caseworkers. I was witness to the effects of the city sweep, and it was obvious the lower numbers that came in for lunch and that they were carrying their belongings on their back and didn't leave them anywhere at any time. So, food insecurity is also addressed through their kitchen pantry programs, and Caritas model is designed to address all of these issues together, and they've been doing very well so far. Let's talk about the actual programs that Caritas does. They have six major service areas. They have the permanent supportive housing, which is long-term housing with on-site mental health counseling and peer support for those experiencing chronic homelessness. 98% of participants remain stably housed last year in 2024. That number is astronomical and amazing. They have their rapid rehousing program for families in short-term crisis, and Caritas intervenes quickly to rehouse them before the situation gets chronic. They have the Best Single Source Plus, or BSS Plus, which is a 12-agency collaborative that Caritas leads and coordinates all the resources across the entire Austin Travis County area. They do their community kitchen and pantry every day of the week, and then Echo is the Ending Community Homelessness Coalition that runs the coordinated entry, the unified intake for the caseworks. And they also do veteran and educational programs for job placement. So as the kitchen, so this kitchen, okay, so Caritas, the Caritas Community Kitchen, um, is accessible by anyone. Lunch is served Monday through Friday, from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Um, the kitchen relies heavily on volunteers. Without the help of 11 out of 15 volunteers, a shift at the kitchen will have to close down and not serve lunch that day. So as of right now, there's only one paid employee, Executive Chef Rivera, who creates amazing meals out of what he has to work with. Rita's Community Kitchen is open Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Everyone is accepted. There's usually a line, but the services provide a hot meal out of the elements with the dignity of eating at a table surrounded by friends. And if anyone needs to use a public phone or grab a snack or clean toothbrush or toiletries, socks, you can just ring the front doorbell for assistance. And this kitchen relies heavily on volunteers. And it's amazing to see the executive chef, Chef Rivera, create the amazing meals out of what he has to work with from the donated food. But as far as the volunteering goes, without the help of 11 out of 15 volunteers, the kitchen has to close down and not serve hot lunch that day. And they are short staffed, so now they only have one paid employee, Chef Rivera, and they're looking for a sous chef currently. So if anybody has experience. But no agency works alone, so they have partners and coalitions. They work with the AHFC, which is the Austin Housing Finance Corporation, which supports their housing development work at the city level. They also work with the Vecino Group and Volunteers of Texas for affordable senior housing, and they're opening Cairn Point Cameron, which is a development opening up this year for the senior housing. They have the Nedges Street Coalition, the Salvation Army, Austin Resource Center for the Homeless, St. David's, and that's a small little hub for services in downtown. The BSS Plus Collaborative is the Caritas. Caritas leads it, and it crosses over 12 agencies. And Austin Echo, which coordinates the entire continuum of care system and grants for Austin Travis County. For Caritas, they rely on a mix of funding sources rather than just tax revenue. They're a private nonprofit, so their primary funders include the HUD and Continuum of Care program. This is a federal competitive grant program for permanent supportive housing. And then the city of Austin and Austin Housing Finance Corporation also channel in some block grants funds for Caritas. Private donations and faith communities have supported them since day one. They also raise money through signature fundraising events. They'll have community fundraisers in the park with asking for donations with live music and volunteer support. For eligibility, and understanding how people access Caritas is important. The HUD definition of chronic homelessness, I went over a little bit before, requires that a person has to have a disability and have been homeless for 12 continuous months or on 4 or more occasions, totaling at least 12 months over 3 years. Case managers at Caritas, they assess eligibility through ECHO's coordinated entry system. And from there, they develop individualized housing plans based on their vulnerability level. Placing someone in permanent supportive housing if they have the highest level of need, or rapid rehousing if their situation is more recent. Case management includes mental health referrals and peer support coordination. So I was able to observe some gaps through my vantage point. And the most visible was the criminalization of homelessness and the city sweeps that pushed clients away from the service cluster downtown, trying to clean up the streets like South by Southwest and getting, cleaning up the streets for tourists and such. But it disrupts case management and it makes it harder to build trust with the transients of people. You go from visible homeless to invisible homeless, and they're harder to find. And then the complete reliance on volunteers kind of broke my heart. So if someone no shows and 200 people don't get lunch for that day, it's just not fair. Also, the chef doesn't have all the essential components of a full functioning restaurant kitchen. He has no stovetop, no sous chef, no dishwasher. It blew my mind. But he does amazing work with what he's got. And the food was delicious. So I don't know. Caritas can't keep up with the chronic homeless population in Austin with these funding cuts and from this administration and the delays that they have on a lot of their grants. But another one is at risk populations. So particularly veterans and domestic violence survivors often don't get help until they've hit like a crisis threshold, and they don't do much as far as preventative measures. But as far as my role at Caritas, I really enjoyed my experience in the kitchen, and the rotation of volunteers kept things fresh. The clientele was kind and feisty and grateful. I was constantly impressed the well-oiled machine that they have going for easy transitions and for new volunteers. I got to speak with caseworkers, coordinators, chefs, volunteers, hungry clients, and learned a ton about Austin's local policies that affect our community. And this opened my eyes to the bigger picture facing Austin homeless and those trying to help in any way that they can. It's really great. The smiles, little tiny cowboy hat, the sass and the personality just kind of makes you think that we're all humans, we're all people. And I wanted to close with a couple things. Um, a major life tragedy could put anybody below the poverty line, and these people are our people, our fellow humans, and it's important that we start to care more and do more for these vulnerable populations. My most treasured memories were the smile and the fist bumps I received on my way back to my car after service. Up and down 7th Street, people I served that day recognized me and showed me their acknowledgement and the dignity in those exchanges. It was so heartwarming. And I feel like that's what social work should look like. And I learned that ending homelessness is not just about housing, it's about addressing the whole person, mental health, trauma, disability, food insecurity, and the systemic and structural barriers like the tent sweeps and the criminalization and the poverty. And caritas in Latin means love or charity. So that has been living, they have been living that truth since 1964. I implore you to look them up and give them a chance. Thank you.